Hello, I'm John McMaine, Assistant Professor and Extension Water Management Engineer in the Agricultural and Biosystems Engineering Department at South Dakota State University. I work with water, so I'm biased, but to me, water is the most critical variable every year for economic performance in South Dakota. I want to tell you why I say that. South Dakota's #1 industry is agriculture, and every year, water is an issue for agriculture. 2019, #1 cause for crop insurance claims was excess moisture. 2019 was an exceptionally wet year, so that's not too surprising. 2018, #1 cause for crop insurance claims was also excess moisture, but #2 on the list was drought. 2017, flip the script. #1 cause for crop insurance claims in 2017, a dry year, was drought, but #2 was excess moisture. Same state, same year, opposite ends of the spectrum. So whenever we think about managing water, we have to think about managing for both extremes. Year-to-year variability, but also within the same year. So we can manage water with precision agriculture and also with conservation systems. Let's start with precision agriculture. Now, if we know how much moisture there is in the soil profile, then that tells us how we're doing on the overall water budget for the year. We can get an idea of how much water a crop will use, corn, beans, wheat, whatever the case would be. And if we have something like tile drainage, that's going to help us understand how much water is going to be leaving the field by that drainage coefficient. Now, I went out, been sampling a lot of tile drainage. My technician went out last week. She sampled 17 tile outlets in eastern South Dakota. You know how many samples she got? She got 12 samples. So out of those 17 fields, we're losing water in 12 of them. That's a very valuable resource in a dry year like 2021. Now, something like controlled drainage. So this is control structure, and if you can see down in here, it has about 5 feet down on the ground. And so this control structure, you can raise and lower boards within the control structure. And what you can do with this is you can actually turn your tile off in essence. So 2021, it's a dry year. We got water leaving the field. Let's turn that tile off. So precision agriculture, conservation drainage, controlled drainage is the first step. And then the next step would then be to take soil moisture in the field, take incoming weather, weather forecasting, short, mid, and long range weather forecasting, and then finally look at how much water that crop is using. So that enables us to make an informed decision with data inputs about how we can manage our tile. We put in tile for wet years, but we want to have a home run every year, and controlled drainage enables us to do that. So we can manage water by structural practices like tile drainage, but infill practices make a huge difference in the water balance. Just think about it. Water lands on the soil, some of it runs off the top, some of it infiltrates into the ground. If we're in a wet year, we want to maximize the amount of water that infiltrates into the ground. Any water that runs off the top, we're losing. And in fact, even in a dry year, we want to get as much water as possible into the ground. So it's all about maximizing efficient use of the rain that we get. We can't control what comes out of the sky, so we have to change what happens when it hits the ground surface. All right, so once it's in the ground, different things like soil cover can make a big difference about how much actually gets used. If we have bare ground, then that bare ground is going to allow a lot more evaporation. We don't want evaporation, we want transpiration. Transpiration is what's allowing our crops to use water and send it back up to the atmosphere. So we want to minimize evaporation, maximize transpiration. Now if you think about the sun has solar energy, and any surface it hits is going to heat up. Now if we have soil cover, residue for example, if we have residue, then that helps protect the soil surface not just from wind and rain erosion, but actually also from evaporation. So no-till and cover crops and having more residue, having more soil cover actually helps us in both wet years and dry years. So thinking about not just structural practices, but also soil health or conservation practices, systems that allow us to capture and use more water, those help us be more resilient to both wet years like 2019 and dry years like 2021.